Well, it can come out in numerous ways. Some people experience trauma through they get depressed. They simply can't function. They don't know how to process what's going on and they withdraw. They feel very afraid of the world. They draw within themselves where they feel safer. Um, Trauma can be expressed through anger. One of the things that I deal with on a daily basis is the anger that I see in men who have experienced trauma. Men often express trauma through a great deal of anger. Some little thing will happen and they become very angry about it and lash out, sometimes become physical. And many of the men I deal with have had time in jail or in prison or whatever the case may be, because they are acting out, in my opinion, acting out on what's really going on underneath. My personal experience has been that a lot of people who drink excessively, alcohol excessively, who use drugs, oftentimes when you get to the bottom of what's really going on, it's not about the drugs or the alcohol. I can't tell you how many men I have dealt with who ultimately expressed to me that they had been sexually abused as children. Some of them by their own fathers, some of them by uncles or close relatives, and they never could deal with their inner fears of expressing that, and their whole male identity is tied up with what was wrong with me. How did I allow that to happen? And of course they were children and they couldn't control that. But the reality is it comes out in all kinds of ways. It may come out in anger, it may come out in phobias of various kinds, fears. It may come up in, as I said, in the acting out, being very aggressive. There are 1,000 ways that it can come out, and it's different for different people. If you know you've been affected by trauma and you know that you're having difficulties in your life, the first and most valuable thing to do is to seek professional help. Find people who truly understand trauma. I'm talking about psychologists, psychiatrists, people who understand not only from an intellectual sense what trauma is, but who have the skills and the ability to work with people who have been traumatized. I think to recognize that what you're experiencing usually is not your fault, and to, particularly if you experience childhood trauma, awful things happen to children. And I think when that happens, they oftentimes hold it inside and they feel somehow responsible. And we carry that into our adult lives. And I think one of the first things to do is to say to yourself, or get somebody else to say it to you if you can't say it to yourself, what happened to you was not your fault. A terrible thing happened, and now you have to deal with it. That's unfortunate, but you have to deal with it. So recognizing it is the first step. I think then seeking help, and then surrounding yourself with positive people. Finding people in your life that you can talk to and feel safe with, and who will be open to you and be patient and understand that getting over trauma is not something that happens quickly or easily. If we don't have hope, we got nothing. And I work with men who have drug and alcohol addictions, and oftentimes the underlying cause is some sort of trauma. I think sometimes working on the drug addiction and at the same time being able to recognize that there's some sort of traumatic event underneath it allows for kind of a co-occurring response to that person. It's not only dealing with the drug and alcohol issue, but it's also recognizing that person's underlying trauma,